Ever heard of Polestar? Well, as a Volvo fan myself, I can tell you that it's Volvo's in-house performance division, sort of like AMG for Mercedes or M for BMW. They take a normal Volvo and they make it a little bit more sporty, except now Polestar is an electric spin-off brand making electric Volvos. So let me explain for a second. A couple years ago, Volvo decided that they wanted a bit more share in the EV space. Who could blame them? So instead of doing it the normal way, where they would bring out a range of electric vehicles, introduce it to their regular main only Volvo brand, they did that as well as create a spin-off brand with Tesla firmly in view as the primary target, Polestar, which they named after their performance division, which still runs today. If you're driving around and paying attention, you'll notice XC60s and XC90s with Polestar engineered badges on the back. I reviewed one a couple of years ago. So let me rephrase that main question. Ever heard of Polestar? I don't even know anymore. But what I'm standing next to right here is Polestar's first serious EV contender. Like I said earlier, Tesla was firmly in view as the primary target, and the first Polestar was meant to go after the Tesla Model 3. So we're standing next to a regular size 5-door electric hatchback. And yes, I said 5-door electric hatchback, which we're going to get to in just a second. But for now, let's take a review type tour of the Polestar 2. Earlier I mentioned that the Polestar 2 was Polestar's initial serious contender to the EV space, and now I'm going to explain why I said that. The Polestar 1 predated the Polestar 2, and it was a plug-in hybrid that developed over 600 horsepower, but it was very limited production. Most people that see them on the road probably think that it's just some two-door version of the S60, so they didn't really sell all that well. It wasn't a great beginning for the Polestar brand. But then they finally knuckled down, got their pencils ready, and put together a serious EV with serious EV specs. Initially, the Polestar Long Range was offered in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. This is a pre-facelift Polestar Long Range dual motor, which has a range of around 230 miles, which isn't exactly long, but hey, you know, and develops 408 horsepower. But the regular initial Polestar 2 long range was front wheel drive and had a range of over 250 miles. It's worth being said that this is a pre-facelift, like I just briefly mentioned. The current Polestar 2, which is still available as of 2025, has much better range, up to 400 miles, and a bit more power. But this is the initial one, the very beginning, the first serious Polestar. But then there's the Polestar 3 and the Polestar 4, and there's a Polestar 6. The naming strategy isn't really my favorite because they decided that they would give it just a random number and hope that it sticks with people. And I guess it's fine. Volvo never really named their cars anyways, so why should Polestar be any different? And it's also worth noting that there are electric Volvos available. You can get an EX30, which is an electric crossover, and an EX90. And if you're lucky enough to be in another market, you can get an ES90. And I'm probably the only American that's upset about that, because I used to own a 2001 Volvo S80 T6. Loved that car, it was great, but I was always afraid the transmission would explode, so I sold it on. But I am an ex-Volvo owner. I love Volvos, and I've reviewed this car's main competitors, the BMW i4 M50 and the Tesla Model 3 Performance, the older Tesla Model 3 Performance. So I thought it was worth having a look at this one for those reasons. So let's go to practicality around the back. Like I said, it's a 5-door hatchback. So you walk around the back here and pop the button and it's a hatchback. Like I said, didn't believe me? Now you do. All right, let's continue. With the hatchback open, you can see it has quite a large trunk, as you'd expect. And that puts it more in contention on that front with the BMW i4, which is also a 5-door hatchback. You look inside and you see you've got plenty of room. And I also really love this carpet. It looks quite nice, quite alternative and Swedish. Maybe I'm just insane, but to me, this looks like quite nice carpet. Let's lift up this floor here. We can see Underneath, there's some room for some miscellaneous things like your charging cable, as you'd expect. So for practicality back here, it pretty much matches its rival, the BMW i4. But this car, unlike the BMW i4 and like the Tesla Model 3, has a front trunk. As you can see right here, a front trunk that isn't all that exceptional. You can't really fit anything in there. You can maybe fit a carton of eggs if you're lucky. That makes it a little bit more practical than the BMW i4. I just can't imagine anybody going to the trouble to pull on a hood latch, go and find the secondary latch as you do, and lift up the hood for that puny, pathetic cargo area. But I guess it's nice that you have a front trunk in this car, because if you didn't, it would be a bit upsetting. So in terms of practicality, I would argue that this beats the Model 3 and the BMW i4 because it offers a cargo area with a hatchback and that front trunk. But let's see how it compares on the interior. So let's close this hatchback here, wait, and then hop in the back seat. Let's see how the back seat of the Polestar 2 holds up when a 6'3" tall Volvo dork sits in the back. All right, first thing I'm noticing is that is as far down as the window goes. So if you like a bit of arm out the window action, it's awkward and a bit uncomfortable. So that's kind of a disappointment. Not a huge deal. If your rear passengers are complaining, at least they're not in a Tesla while protesters are running after it, throwing rocks, and I think that whole thing is over, but that was a thing for a little bit. So legroom isn't fantastic. It's non-existent, actually. Headroom is non-existent as well. Let's check the center console area. Little cup holder with these just pathetic tabs in them. I would not trust that to hold my Starbucks Frappuccino. And if it spilled, it would spill all over this seat material right here. I'm sitting on the standard seat material for the Polestar 2. It is called embossed textile, and it's a sort of nice recycled material, and it looks very nice and it's very comfortable. It's offered in two colors, zinc and charcoal. We're sitting on the zinc right now. But you can also get Weave Tech, which is a vegan alternative to leather, or just straight Napa leather. If you want to be against the environment and kill cows, you can do that. But I'm prepared to say that I like this embossed textile the most. It's nice and has this whole recycled, upscale, futuristic interior feel to it. It sort of reminds me of the BMW i3, and I loved the interior of the i3. What I don't love about this is the fact that there's not really that much room, but that's kind of what you'd expect for a smaller car like this, and with this driver's seat in my driving position, which it is right now. So it sort of compares itself, as you'd expect, to the Tesla Model 3 and the BMW i4. BMW i4 definitely has a worse back seat than this, but it's not that far off. And when it comes to materials back here, everything seems pretty nice. You've got more of this embossed textile on the door panel. I can only say that a couple more times before I completely forget what it is for the 20th time while filming this video, but you've got more of this embossed textile right here on the door. Door opens not as much as I would want it to. It needs to open a little bit more to make it a bit easier to get back here, but overall, the back seat is always not the most important thing on a car this size. The important thing is that it's here. But you also have a couple air vents down here for a bit of extra comfort, and underneath this cover, two USB-C outlets. You also have a huge transmission hump right here, which isn't a transmission hump because it's an electric car. Not really sure why it's here, but it's huge, and it's definitely robbing space from the middle passenger. The middle passenger also doesn't seem to get a headrest. Never mind, I'm an idiot. There is a headrest right here. And I'm gonna move up front. Getting in the front of the Polestar 2, and I can confidently tell you that the whole theme of this interior can be summed up with one word, and it's texture. If you look around, you can find all sorts of different things that you just want to touch. I mean, look at this trim right here with all these triangles in it. Looks kind of cheap, and then you touch it, and it's just got this nice feeling to it, this nice texture. Let's move up to the embossed textile right here on the dashboard. Feel that with your hand, it feels very nice. And you've got more of this, what seems like a plastic dashboard until you touch it, and then it has just this really nice feeling on the back of your hand. It's like they recycled the plastic and then recycled it some more to make sure that it was fully environmentally friendly. And then moving up to this headliner right here, again, it sort of looks like regular headliner to you on the camera, but to me, it just has this really nice feel to it. I really like this recycled, probably has to be recycled material right here. It's just nice to touch with the back of your hand. All the materials up here, aside from this nasty plastic right here on the center console on the side, is very nice, and everything feels nice to touch. But that's kind of what you can expect from Volvo, because they've been acing it when it comes to interiors in the past 10 years, and the Polestar brand is no different. One other thing that is no different from Volvo is that Volvo has always been really good at making seats. They've always been comfortable, they've always looked great, and when you sit in them, you're always confident in the knowledge that some Swedish engineer worked 25 hours a day to make sure that it would could withstand a 150 mile per hour impact from the back and keep its passengers completely unscathed. You know that they put in all the engineering effort everywhere around this car to make it safe. And to make that point known, look at these beautiful yellow seat belts right here. Just going off on an ADHD tangent for a second, and then we'll get back to the seats. Yellow seatbelts so that you know you're sitting in a Polestar. Your regular BMW i4 has black seatbelts. What a joke. Yellow seatbelts are the best. Just wouldn't wear red if you're sitting up here because it'll clash. But let's move down to the seatbelt buckle, where you see since 1959, because Volvo was the inventor of the 3-point seatbelt that we all take for granted today. It saved millions of lives, and that's because Volvo made the patent usable by every other company for free, because they recognized that safety of passengers in cars was more important than them just making more money. So they allowed the other manufacturers to use the patent without paying any royalties to Volvo. But they did maintain bragging rights, and as you can see, it says since 1959 on the seatbelt buckle, because that's when it was invented. Honda, Toyota, every other car company is allowed to use the 3-point seatbelt, but they're not allowed to put since 1959 on the buckle, because bragging rights are universal. So let's get back to the seats. These seats are very, very comfortable because Volvo just knows how to design seats. The best seats I've ever sat in any car were the seats in my 2001 Volvo S80 that I mentioned earlier. They were just so cushy and soft, but at the same time supportive, and at the same time felt completely safe, and it had a crotch pocket on the front of the bottom part of the seat, which the Polestar 2 doesn't have, unfortunately. The seats in that car were brilliant. The seats in this car are pretty great too. I just love Volvo seats, don't you? And the whole interior of this car is just great. I love every part of this interior. I love the materials that you touch. In my opinion, it beats the BMW i4, and it easily beats the Tesla Model 3. So I would much rather be spending my time on the roads sitting behind the wheel of a Polestar 2 when you consider the interior. Let's move on to the infotainment setup, which is powered by Google Maps. You start with this random home menu here with a couple different widgets, your maps, your media, things like that. But if you go around, you search around, you can find some apps like YouTube is on here. So as you're sitting in park, you can just watch your favorite YouTuber, me of course, rant on about other Volvos, which is great. You also have this tab right here with a picture of a car, and this is your car controls. Your one pedal drive is right here. You can turn off your creep relatively easily, your steering feel, but you can also go into turning off all your driver aids if those are annoying to you. It's much easier to find them in the Polestar 2 than in the BMW i4 and the Tesla Model 3. You can also have your charge controls and more, which shows all of your settings basically. So moving back to this regular application menu, you have things like your performance app. Let's go into that, and it shows me a useless G-force meter. That's fun, I guess. As I probably already mentioned, it's powered by Google. So you've got Google Assistant right here, YouTube, like I already mentioned, and Google Maps. So overall, it's a really nice infotainment system. I like how it has the prominent central screen as you'd expect from a luxury EV in this segment, but it's not overbearing. It seems like it was designed in pretty well, and it's very easy to use and get used to. It's very easy. Can't complain about it at all, except for the fact that it keeps interrupting me with this stupid chime, which is getting annoying. Guess I'm turning on vehicle location. So yeah, great infotainment system because it's not overbearing, it's easy to use, but it still has all the features that you want. What is less great is this digital infotainment system that is in front of the driver, because it doesn't really show all that much. It shows probably what most people would like. You can go from showing your basic vehicle information, your speed, your charge level, your range amount, and how much charge or power you're using at any given moment. You can also cycle it through to show a map on the screen, which is very cool and nicely useful. But I can't figure out for the life of me how to show my media controls on here, which is quite annoying. I would like to be able to see what sort of media I'm listening to, as you'd expect from a car with a digital gauge cluster, but I can't seem to figure out how to make that appear in there. So it's just vehicle information and maps, which I guess is better than just vehicle information, but not great. Also, another thing that isn't great is this steering wheel. I know it's obviously a Volvo to most people with eyes and a brain, but they could have made this steering wheel look a little bit different from the Volvo steering wheel. It's just the same exact thing, except the airbag cover has the Polestar logo on it instead of the Volvo logo. But I guess that means that if you're used to Volvos, then you'll be used to the whole setup in this car. The infotainment's a little bit different from Volvos that I've been in recently, but the steering wheel is exactly the same. But that's really it when it comes to complaints. I mean, there's a couple cheap materials that I can find dashed about, but overall, the whole interior is just beautifully well crafted and well put together, because that's Swedish engineering for you in a car that was assembled in China. But you get the point. It's time to transition into driving the Polestar 2. So let's hop behind the wheel and take it out on the road. Okay, let's get going in the Polestar 2. To start it, all you have to do is simply put your foot on the brake and shift it into drive. There's no other way to actually get the car turned on, which, if you're filming a video about the car and you're sitting in the passenger seat, means that it's pretty much impossible. Also, I have to turn on location for the 8th time, which has been annoying. I wish it would kind of just, I don't know, remember that I allowed location, because I don't really get it. Oh, also one more thing that I forgot to note. This key, this is the Polestar Key, and it is the worst key of any car in the car industry right now, because it's fashioned out of the regular Volvo keys you'd expect. It has 3 buttons on the side, lock, unlock, and to open the trunk. So it's got the same functionality as the Volvo key, but they put this god-awful plastic piece of trash case over the outside, which just looks like a case that you hold your pills in. It's not a good key at all. It works, but it's a terrible, terrible, awful key if you ask me. But that doesn't factor into really anything. If a car has a bad key and you're complaining about that, you're into heavy nitpicking territory. But that's kind of what I do on this channel. Matters to me, so I'm mentioning it. All right, out on the road here. I mean, it's electric and it's a Volvo, meaning that it's comfortable, it's got Swedish character and Chinese quality, and it's quiet, and it's quite fast. And we're gonna find out how fast it is here in just a moment. It's 408 horsepower, which is nothing to sneeze at, but the Tesla Model 3 at the time was offering well over 450. The BMW i4 M50 offers over 500. There isn't really a performance Polestar 2, which is kind of ironic, because again, Polestar is known as Volvo's performance division, except they forgot when they made the spin-off brand. All right, here we go. Yeah, instant EV torque. Put my foot down and it takes off quite quickly. It's definitely not something that should be considered slow, but it's not as fast as other EVs in this segment, the i4 M50, the Model 3 Performance, because they have performance versions of those cars. They obviously have a little bit more power, but for this Polestar 2 that I'm driving, this was the most powerful version, which was just the long-range version. I guess their focus on the Polestar 2 wasn't necessarily performance and power. It was more just making a nice, relaxing daily driver electric Volvo with some nice materials and nice build quality to differentiate itself from the Tesla offering. And to that end, it does a fantastic job. I love the interior, as I've said 1,000 times. There's a couple things that I would change. I just really love some of the attention to detail, like this lovely headliner here and these amazingly comfortable seats. And that would definitely sway my decision if I was considering buying a car in this segment. I feel like I would be on my way to the BMW dealership to buy an i4, and then I'd veer off and buy a Polestar, because when you look at it from the outside and you consider its whole image and idea, it just looks like a slightly tall S60 that wants to look like a Tesla Model 3. But if you just ended at that and judge the book by its cover, then you're missing out on a lot of effort and attention to detail that they put into the Polestar 2. Yeah, on the outside it doesn't look very impressive, certainly, but when you actually get in and drive it and experience it, you start to really appreciate some of the little details in it, like this infotainment system that is pretty simple but has everything that you want, the lovely materials everywhere you look, the fact that it has a hatchback but also a front trunk, and the yellow seat belts. I mean, I think the Polestar brand in general hasn't been well received because it's a bit confusing. The naming strategy is confusing, not just with the brand itself but with the models. And Volvo's also offering electric versions of its normal cars, and they canceled the S60, which shows that Volvo isn't super committed to the whole sedan thing. But then you have a Polestar 2 as an electric sedan. It's just weird, and I think Volvo's a little bit confused, but it's still Volvo, so they still put together an absolute peach of a daily driver car. It's just comfortable, it's quiet, Volvo 850. I really like this car compared to the i4 and the Tesla Model 3. So with that, I'm going to end that video there. I hope you enjoyed, and want you all to, at this point, have a great day, like, subscribe, do all the normal YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.